David Grasso of Concordia with Daniela Carvajalino. Difficult last name for English speakers, right? Yeah. So you have been an entrepreneur since you were 8 years old, right?
Right.
Selling chocolates door to door. And today, your organization, Biz Nation, teaches entrepreneurship around the world. Did I get that right?
Perfect.
Okay. So tell me about what inspired you at the age of 8 to not watch cartoons and sell chocolate.
See, so at the age of 8, I've said that my motivations have changed over the time. So at 8, I really enjoyed the game of playing with chocolates and eating what was left at the end. Then I kept growing and I saw that other kids didn't have the same type of education that I received because my parents were very supportive, very entrepreneurial, and I saw that other kids didn't have that. So I wanted my friends to have that same type of education, and that's when the chocolate game turned into entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship turned into a way of reshaping education. And it's weird because I was 8 and those were the types of things that I was worried about.
So now today we're talking about this a lot, especially since college students graduate around the world and they can't find jobs.
Right.
Because they don't have the skills that employers are looking for. Why is early exposure to entrepreneurship so important?
It is so important, especially in this age where technology is changing, like everything that we know, all the jobs that we know, the World Bank, the IDB, everyone is saying we need kids with creativity, with critical thinking, with collaboration, with problem solving, and entrepreneurship is just the best single way to develop that. You can't teach creativity saying this is what creativity is, but if you have to go and sell chocolates, you're not gonna be scared of talking to people. You have to find creative ways of doing it. You have to critical think. So it's a fun way, and especially a very effective way to develop those soft skills in an easy manner. And especially, I'm very passionate about developing in kids, in schools, because you spend so much time in school that why only prepare for tests and for standardized testing and not for life? So it is really the best way to develop the 4 C's that the World Bank is talking about. So
what are the 4 C's?
Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication.
Wow. So I missed an important part of the story. You did this with your 2 sisters, and you are not triplets.
We are not.
Triplets. You're a year apart, bang, 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 right?
Yes, that's a very important part of the story.
Correct.
Because we've done everything together. We're
Still till today.
Still till today. I'm 24. Karen is 25, Steph is 23, and we're still business partners. We've done this as a family. We've inspired other families to do the same. So they're definitely like very important part of this story.
So your parents, they must be so proud.
Oh my God, my parents.
They're like your #1 fans, right?
They're #1 fans. I was just telling you, I'm very active in social media, and my parents, like, they comment every single post, like every single live.
Heart.
No, they're like, I'm here in the live. We do a lot of live, and they're like, we're here. Say hi. I'm like, Dad, Mom.
So why do you think it's important, entrepreneurship, as it pertains to development for entire nations? You know, Colombia, your country of origin and where you currently live, is turning the corner, right? Finally going in the right direction, putting behind the ugly history, which we see on Netflix,
Correct.
You know, and we see in common culture, right? How can entrepreneurship help change the image that people have of countries like Colombia, like Kenya, like India, like Thailand, like all these developing countries that still have quite a long way to go?
Right, so I think entrepreneurship is first a way of changing the stereotype, like not knowing Colombia for drugs or for narcos, but like these amazing entrepreneurs that are changing the world, but it's also a way of changing, you know, these other ways of doing things that maybe were not legal and appropriate, and giving people another option. And in order to do that, we need to change their mindset, we need to educate them in order to develop this orange economy that the president is talking so much about.
Yeah, because back in the day, you know, narco trafficking was the only game in town for a lot of people, right?
Exactly.
They didn't have jobs, they didn't have ways to feed their families. So now how do you introduce the idea that, hey, things have changed, you don't have to do this, you don't have to risk it all?
So it's a very long process, and it's not going to happen in one day, but we're doing it in a way that people understand that through entrepreneurship they can give their kids quality of life, that they can have a decent job, and that they can also help the entire country change the image, develop the nation. So I think it's a good way, like you said, it's a long way to go, but I'm very hopeful that it's gonna happen, that it's happening, that there's a lot of people that are passionately working for it, and that we to see amazing results from amazing entrepreneurs all over Colombia, that they're here at Concordia doing things that I say, oh my God, she's Colombian, like I'm very proud to be Colombian because of the work that they're doing.
But a lot of times it's the government that stands in the way of entrepreneurship. This is something I've built my career on. You know, taxation policy, regulation, permitting, etc. Suddenly those put up roadblocks for entrepreneurs, and it's counterintuitive because you would think governments would be interested in growing their economy, creating jobs, increasing their tax revenue, but somehow most governments don't really facilitate entrepreneurship, and this is a global problem.
It is.
What can we do to change that?
I think that we need to first raise our voices. For example, in Colombia, we're starting to see change in policy. So there's a new law that allows to not pay income taxes for 3 years for young entrepreneurs. So
We don't have that here.
No, that's starting to happen. So we're starting to see change. But the first thing was having people talk about it. Another thing, we have to pay taxes on invoices that they have not paid us. So for example, you pay to me
that's lunacy.
90 days. For example, I'm gonna pay to you in 90 days, and it's I don't know, maybe 50,000 contract. You have to pay taxes like right now.
That needs to change.
That is not changed yet, but we're working on it. So people raising their voices, but this is one of the type of things that make entrepreneurship be a little bit hard.
Aren't they just driving business under the table anyway? You're not going to put in that invoice that you're collecting that money.
Exactly, and I think, you know, we don't want that. Like, we want a country that can grow together with the government, with the private sector, and in order to do that, we need better entrepreneurship policies. I think our government right now is understanding that, so that's good. But we need to raise our voices. Like I talk about it all the time, and I'm like, this is what needs to be done. For example, talking about education policy. Before, you weren't really able to teach entrepreneurship as part of the curriculum, but a couple of years ago, now schools are encouraged to teach entrepreneurship.
Good.
So I think policy is very important to develop the entrepreneurial ecosystem as a whole, but we need governments on board, like, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.